Hello, fellow humans. It is I, Luke, the panda, and today we will be teach we as the pluralis majestatis. I will be teaching you the very basics of Roll20, as in a hopefully very comprehensive guide. Might be a tad long. Some features might have already been gone over by Robert, but hopefully it won't be too boring. Alright, let us set off right away. Here we are in Roll20. Let us go to games, and here you have a direct overview over all your games. Hello everyone. Now we will be creating a new game. We're gonna call it Testy Boy, which is my favorite name. We can choose a character sheet. Usually we will be using D&D 5e. And over here you can choose a module. You can purchase these at the marketplace. Some come for free. If you would like to use a preset, simply click it and it's gonna be there. Sadly, as far as I'm aware, you can only have a singular one active at a time. Now we're ready to create our game, so we shall do so as such. Here we could put any file in, but for now we don't need a banner. So we're gonna go ahead and launch it and see all the phenomenal features we can use on Roll20. Alright, that was quick. So I will go through everything. I will go through what's up here, what's over here, and what's over here. As you see here, if you're a player, this is the chat function. That will be important later. So what do we have? To start off with, we have this first thing. With this, we can click on the map, we can drag select, or if you hold down the left click button, you can do a ping. You can ping out certain things. Then pan view is simply a way to scroll. If you've zoomed in too far, you can pan around as you please, so you don't have to constantly use the sidebars. Then, very next thing. Everyone can ping. Every single person can ping. That includes the players. If they want to call out, I want to attack over there, they can ping that area, and then the DM knows it. You can also change your colors down here by clicking on the little color. So everyone can have a specific color. Be ideal if not everyone had the same, because if everyone has the same, it's gonna be mildly confusing. But over time, you can learn who has what color. Then next thing, here are the 3 layers. Roll20 works off of 3 layers. Objects and tokens is the layer people interact with. Map and background is anything you want in the background to not interact with. And GM info overlay is everything you want to keep secret till it comes into play. So first, let's maneuver to map and background. Then go over here. I'll get to what these things are later. But for now, we're going to go to my library. And I'm going to go ahead and drag one of these maps in. And we're going to size it up. Now obviously it doesn't fit correctly at the moment. That's something you could adjust later, but for now this will do. So this is now the map background. Everything here is just the backdrop. You can place things that don't move here as well. let's say you had a weird tree looking thing that doesn't move. You could also drag that in here. Now, objects and tokens. You can drag tokens in and they will automatically snap to the place on the grid. And those you can move. And tokens can be assigned to different people, as I'll get to in a bit later as well. But those you can move, or you can, even if you pick it up with a left click and then click right click, everyone can see the way they move. And you right click again, you can adjust this. So now, usually if I drag like this, for everyone else, the view, the token would simply snap, teleport from this place to there. But if you do it like this, everyone should see how it moves across the grid, which might be really beneficial for complicated movement. Then the final layer is the GM info overlay. If we drag a token on here, as you see, it's sort of faded. You can change that here with the DM info overlay opacity. But everything on this layer is invisible to the player. And it also cannot be moved from the token map. So if you want to drag select a couple of these bad boys and move them, that won't automatically move the things behind as well. And same with the GM overlay. If you drag select, it will only select the things on that layer. You can send things from one layer to another with a simple right click, layer, and send them to different layers. So that one is now visible to the players. And let's say this thing has been killed, but I don't want to just delete it. I can send it to the GM layer. Alright, next thing is this, where the way we draw. Here we can click on draw shape. Here's the color of the outline of our shape. This would be the filling of our shape. And this would be how thick it is. So let's say here we have a little thin. Here we have a really thick one. And here we have one that's filled green. Now alternatively, if you press shift, it automatically drags to the grid itself. If you press alt, it creates a circle. And then you can also alt shift drag to make it a perfect circle instead of an oval. These can be used to quickly sketch in things, or you can use them to measure area of effects. Something I use quite often is draw shape, regular, and then someone says, alright, it's 30 feet across. So you measure 30 feet and then 30 feet. And then you can say, alright, where would you like to place it? And then you can say here, and then you can say, everyone in this area make me a specific saving throw, which is quite useful. You can of course also freehand things, in case you want to draw something onto the map that you don't necessarily have a token for. Also Control Z undoes the very last thing over and over again. Polygon line, in similar fashion as other products like this with the ability to draw, you can simply string along, and in the end you should close it, and then you can create a new one. Text, you can click, then you can change size, color, and a very small amount of the types, and you can type something. And then later you can also move this, as with any drawing, you can move it freely. And if things get too much, you can simply clear all. Or alternatively, you could select a specific one and delete it with backspace. Right, this is the zoom Nothing else, nothing more. Very simple, just to adjust zoom on the fly, so you don't have to constantly regulate it with the little slider over here. Then this is the way you measure things on a grid. You simply select it, then hold down left click, and you can measure distances. In a similar fashion as to what I mentioned before, if you click right click during it, you can give it little breakpoints. And let's say you're too zoomed in and I wanted to measure outwards. With a right click, I can also move the entire map and then keep going. Now the way is that by default, snap to center, it snaps to the center of the grid. Snap to corner, it snaps to the corner of the grid. No snapping, it's just I can do it from wherever I please. Now, Fog of War, this is something purely only DMs have, the first of those things. This is a very useful tool. The light version doesn't have a dynamic mode. I do not have a dynamic mode, but this essentially is, you hide an area. Now we drag this across. It says, do we want to enable Fog of War? At the roller thingy, hang on, this is simply you click it, then you left click drag. Q also does checkpoints, but I use right click for that, because right click has the added functionality of being able to move the map as well. I can come to map size in a bit, but for right now, up here you go into the layers, page setting, and then here the page scale, you can adjust how big a single cell is. Alright, back to the Fog of War. We're gonna drag here and it says enable Fog of War. Yes. Now this makes every player see nothing but a black area. With now you can slowly, let's say they come from the top left, they make their way onto a dungeon. You can slowly reveal areas. This area now every player sees. And you can slowly gam in through the dungeon corridors and reveal only what you think the player should see. And if they go too far, you can again hide areas behind them as well, slowly as they walk along. Polygon reveal is in a similar fashion. If you don't want simple squares, you can reveal more abstract shapes like this. And this is in general a very useful tool for dungeon exploring or any type of where you don't want the player to immediately see the entirety of the map. You can also reset it to have it full. Simply get rid of it all. I believe we can turn off Fog of War up here as well. Fog of War, we can disable it here again. And now it's completely visible. Next thing is the turn order. This is also a purely DM thing, but as soon as you click on turn order, it should open for everyone. This way is the way you roll for initiative. Let's say this guy would like some initiative. You click him and then you add turn. Now, if you had a character sheet, if this had a character sheet assigned to it, you could simply select it and then in the character sheet you would roll for initiative. We'll get to character sheets later. But for now, you can simply click here, give him a turn, and then you can adjust the value. He rolled a 3. And this guy, at turn, this guy rolled a 7. Now I can just drag this guy below the 7, and you're done. You can also get rid of the turn order. This will not delete it. Everything will still be there. If you double click it, it sort of goes into a hidey mode. You can double click it again, it pops back. With this arrow, you can see who's next in order. If we click it, the next person has a turn. For instance, it becomes more easy to see if we add a turn for this guy at 8. Move this guy below. Now I can see this guy has a turn. Now that guy, and then this guy. And with the little cog, you can remove all terms, or you can simply sort the entire turn order really quick instead of having to manually do it every time. Or if these tokens had names, you could also do it by name. We can also down here remove all turns. Now it's empty again, and we can get rid of it. This way is the way you can roll die. If you wish, you can roll a d10 with a +2. Oh, or you can roll 3 d10. Swap. And this is, I believe, for the fate system. Or you can do it advanced, where here now you can actually roll 2d20 and you can give it a plus. And you can also re-roll the last thing you rolled. Or additionally, you can roll by clicking in the little chat box down there, and you can /r space and then d20 plus 3. And it also rolls that. And this down here is simply for external links in case you need more help. And that's pretty much the entire functionality of this little thing on the left over here. Now let's get to the page tool. Up here we can create new pages. If we click on it like so, you, the DM, load into it, but no one else does. If you wanted the little player icon depicts what the players see. If you wanted them to move from this to that, you simply drag the little player thing over there. And now the players see this white. And then drag it back, and they're back over here. A page individually, you can rename it by just clicking on the tile and say start, indicating that this is where I want people to start. Now up here you have the page settings, which we had a bit ago. Up here you can create how big the grid is. Right now it's in a 25 to 25. Now if you load in a map like this one, the way I've always done it, I count the height and I give it the same amount of height here, then I count the width and I give it the same here. And then I can square out the map so the grid on the actual map that's been made perfectly aligns with the actual grid that's on Roll20. Now in case you don't want that, that's too complicated, then you simply disable the grid on Roll20 itself. This way, as you see, these things no longer snap anywhere. I can move them freely. But you now don't have to adjust the actual Roll20 grid to the actual map grid. And you can simply, even though you could do it like so, you can still easily discern, all right, he goes from here to there. And it, even though it doesn't perfectly snap, it's still very clear. Furthermore, the background, in case there's no map on it, you can change it to whatever. As you see, those here are white right now. And you could change that to, let's say, a nice green. And now it's a very eye-deafening green. And because we don't want eye cancer, we will get rid of it. Now, furthermore, up here, as previously stated, you can adjust the scale. Right now, every single grid, every single cell on the grid is 5 feet. But sometimes you have a map where that's not the case. You could simply adjust this like so to 10 feet, or you can really make it anything at all. Sometimes when you have a map that's a world map, obviously feet doesn't make sense, and you can change it to hex or whatever you want. But feet is generally the normal thing. And here you can also give it a hex-based overview. And the measurement here, we'll use TNT5e, as that mostly is what everyone's used to. And here you can of course also change the size of the squares. Like now they are really big. Now they are, in case you want different type of the grid. And here you can also change the opacity, how easily they're viewed. Now it's very strong. You can also change the color back to that beautiful green that we had before. The fog of war, you can also activate from here instead of the sidebar. Play on load, it would be if in case you wanted to add a specific song to immediately play upon arriving on this page. And that's pretty much the functionality of up here. You can also move these around. Move a player to a different one, move these around. And create a new page will always be created at the end though. So if you have a lot of them, moving them back and forth, it's a bit of a bother. And that's the entire top. Now let's go to the area over here. The chat, we've already seen, it's just the chat. You can do many things here, like you can whisper the DM, I believe. Maybe not. Maybe GM. Or maybe I'm stupid. Never mind. Anyway, this is the chat. Good times. Next would be the assets. Premium assets. In case you decide to purchase something from the marketplace, it would show up here. Your subscriptions. And then also the free assets that you're given. You can just see, for instance, most of the things here are simply tokens. And the things you upload yourself are here in your library. These are all the things I've uploaded in my time. And you can simply redrag them on here. You can also create folders like I have here. This is, for instance, is my entire folder. Ah, yes. The entire folder I have for my Minds of Madness. All the little maps I've had there. And this is for my Princess of the Apocalypse. I've been told the command is /whisper gm. Hello. And that goes directly to only the GM if you want to do some whisper shenanigans. Now you can see obviously your add folder, or you can upload something, or you can simply drag it onto the canvas and then adjust it later. Or in case you don't want to upload it, but it's not in the assets, you can just give it a search here and see if there's anything interesting. For instance, we can look for a tavern, and then we have from the premium assets that we could buy, or we're not going to, because we have the web available. Now if we can go here back to map and backgrounds, for instance, I really like this. Now we drag this on, and we make it bigger. And now you see we've simply taken a nice pre-made map from the web. Looks like a tavern. Is functional. Next thing here. This is the journal page where you can add different things. You can add a folder to make folders. That's pretty boring. You can create a handout. We can put something in here. For instance, I would like this in here. And you can call it, oh, I cannot drag it in here. We will choose a file and we will choose this picture. Ah, well, this is very sad. It has, Roll20 has a certain upload limit. So you should see to it that most of your pictures are fairly small. Like this one I dragged in, took a while to load. But versus the other one, this one for instance is 2 MB. So I should probably delete that soon. but here you can call it what you will, and then see if you want it in a certain place journal, and if someone can edit it. And then you can change that later by simply clicking on it again and say, I would like them to show it now. You can select a certain person or everyone, and then you can click show the players and it will immediately pop up on everyone's screen. You can also add character sheets here. Here we have the standard character sheet, bio info, you can add it. Here I would highly suggest that you make every player drop in a token. I'm not gonna, I will drag in this little thing, for instance. Ah, god damn it, I haven't. I'll eat stuff later. But we're gonna drop this one in, and now this is a token. If we save changes, now we have this on our character sheet, and we can drop it in any time. I've dropped it on the wrong layer. If we drop it in here, it automatically snaps to the grid. Now, character sheet, you can, as a DM, you can choose to create an NPC. To create NPC roles, use the character mancer, which is a bit iffy for creating a player character, or simply add a sheet directly, which is what I usually do. And then you have a very clear Roll20 D&D character sheet with bio spells and all of that good stuff. You can choose an artificer, type in a subclass, put in the level, and if you have in level 5, it automatically adjusts how many spell slots we have. If we go back to level 2, now that changed. And then we have little tricks here, like we can still make it an NPC from here. Or what I like to do here is advantage toggle. Now you see here, whenever we roll something, let's say we strength of 13, we roll with advantage. Now if we click this, it rolls with advantage. If we click that, it rolls with disadvantage. If we click normal, it rolls like normal. Now, in order to create a character sheet, what's really useful is the compendium over here. Because let's say I want a short sword. I can simply drag the short sword into here. And now you'll see I have nothing here because, let us try again. Short bow. Now you see here we have proficiency in short sword and short bow. Now we want the item short sword, we drag it in. Now we have the item here, and also immediately applies all the regular bonuses of what your character has to hit. You click short sword, you roll 14 to hit, you click short sword down here, and it rolls for the damage. So in here, there's most spells. Some spells are missing, most notably the smites from the paladins. I don't know why that is. Perhaps they will be put in later. But let's say we want a tiefling. You can simply drag the tiefling race into here. And it adjusts parts accordingly. Oh. If we drag this in, it gives us these, so it doesn't give us the ability score improvements. So you're still going to have to input those manually, as it seems. Then over here, you have the jukebox. Only the DM really has access to this. Maybe notable for the character sheets. Edit it. You can also assign your players the character sheets. Back to the jukebox. Here you can add songs. Here you can make playlists or manage audio, and you can input tracks. These are all pre-made, but you have variety. For instance, we can tabletop audio. We can look for Barovian Castle. You click here. Here you have a pre-sample, and you can add it to the game. Or just a quick little... Yeah, add that to the game. And then you can adjust the volume here. And now we can have a bit of background music. As soon as you play, every player on the site will hear it. You can stop again here. If you want the song to keep repeating, you click on loop. You can have it slowly fade in or fade out. Or you can simply delete it from your list. Then here are macros. I've not used those too much, but next to that you have the settings. If you're a DM setting up a game, you can quickly rejoin as player to see how the overlay would look for the player specifically. Here you can input your specific names for if you want to have displayed for that game. For instance, I want to change my name to DM. Now down here, I'm the DM. You can also adjust the master music volume. If the DM has the music way too loud but refuses to tone it down, you can tune down the music here. Most of these things would be self-explanatory, but do try them out. The only thing I would use here is the size of this. You should be able to adjust that here. In case you don't like how big they are. I can also move them around to somewhere else on the screen. And you can adjust some voice settings. Or you can enable 3D die. Now when we roll a dice, we can drag, and then it actually rolls here. Now that is a terrible dice, but they naturally conform to the color you pick here, I believe. Now I can actually see what's on them. This is a great tool. It really mimics the die, but it can also, everyone else can see them, I believe. And it might cause a bit of lag. It has so in the past for me. Now let's quickly go over some token setups. A token, you can give little status effects via this bar here, and you can remove them as well. Or you can input values here, like red is usually the health. Say it has 12 health. Or you can do that from in here. You can say if you have 12 out of 12, it has a little health bar above it. And you can give it a name as well. You can give it control to other players. And if you have, it can also represent certain things. For instance, if we went outside of this and changed to one of my games that is set up, like my Princess of the Apocalypse campaign that has previously ended, we can go ahead and give that a launch. And while it loads, don't forget to pledge to Swiss RPG. Head to swissrpg.ch/become a champion and sign up to give Swiss RPG some of your money so we can be better. We can do more events. And there's some killer rewards in there. And you get a nice little sign, little color change on Discord as well. Right, if we here, for instance, I have a token page and a token custom page. Oh, here's all the tokens I've loaded in. You see, we can, for instance, here I could change my appearance to something else. And I could also represent a character in a specific way. For instance, in these presets, these tokens represent who they are. And you can give them certain type of bonuses. And you can also do very advanced things here. So, or specifically the character sheets. Here you can input things. And I believe you can add them as well. You can add other resources. And here you can go wild with certain extra parts. We can convert the character to an NPC, which will make the stat block look different. And as you previously see how a role looks like, that's a player role. And a NPC role looks very different. If I could give a role here. Let's make good old Gormley. Let's make you an NPC. I'm not sure. Oh, down here. If I give this a dex roll, you can clearly see the role is different. Very evidently, it's from an NPC. And in here you can input all their extra things. And if you want to stop it being an NPC, you can untip this again. And now it's back to being a regular character. And usually with a properly made attribute, you can also input a lot of things here to change the way your character works. Because in certain subclasses, the sheet might not work. Like the Arcane Fighter subclass might not actually give you any spell slots. So you could change that from this. You could change that from this sheet. You could input 3 out of 3. And now, when we go back, suddenly we'll have 3 spell slots. A handy way to keep track of that. And I believe, yeah, you can also set auras. As we see with this character, he has an aura that then displays around him for everyone to see. Which is if an enemy has, whenever you're within 5 feet of this enemy, you automatically take damage. that is how you can discern such a thing really easily. But I believe that would bring us to the end of the pretty basic explanation. With this, you should be able to upload maps, adjust them as you wish, make the optimal use of all of these areas, and know the basic thing of what these areas over here are for as well, which would bring me already to the end of the stream. A very fast overlook of most of the Roll20 capabilities, which would leave me to the end where I am gonna ask, are there any questions that you would like to have addressed before I end this stream? I am still using a free account. I've only bought the Princess of the Apocalypse module, which is automatically applied here, which gave me all these extra layers. There, and all of this premium, no, it's here, isn't it? Yes, gave me all these things, essentially gave me the book as to read here, but other than that, everything I have is completely free. Usually I would say yes, you can upload enough stuff, but as we've seen, I think I might have just gone overboard. That's not been a problem previously, but this is like the 5th or 6th thing I'm making, and in case you do run overboard, you can start deleting things here. And if you delete the item, it will be gone forever, but you'll free up space again for the future. Because I believe that if I drag something in here, it's gonna tell me I'm full. So maybe I'll either start deleting things heavily, or I will buy a premium account. But as you can see here on the sidebar, I've uploaded a fair amount of things. And some of these things I believe are also quite big. Most tokens I create are a couple of kilobyte. And I can quickly check how big these maps are for you. One of the maps I've uploaded previously was 3 megabyte. And I am not using any scripts. I believe we have another DM that will teach you about those sooner or later. But I'm not actually using any scripts whatsoever. This map, for instance, 1.5 megabyte. And I believe, but so deleting a couple of those would give you ample free space, because the tokens I have, for instance, if I'm checking my downloads here, these tokens are usually only about 53 kilobytes. This token is 53 kilobyte, so that's not an issue. So yes, I cannot recommend any scripts really, because I don't use any. Yes, I would very much say that these basic functionalities are all you need for a very enjoyable game. I have run many one-shots and a almost year-long campaign on this, and Roll20 was never a hindrance in that regard. For instance, up here I have a random battle map. If I have something that I was not prepared, I can quickly go in here, sketch things out with the drawing tool, say this is a couple of houses, and then have a fight here. Or I can pre-prepare certain areas, like here's a forest, where I have put things in. I have just a nice little icy forest where the players were supposed to come through, and then I sent basilisks on them. And that, with the music, with the character sheets, with all the functionality, is a very enjoyable game that you can run for quite some time. With that, if there are no more questions, I hope you feel a bit better about using Roll20 now. So if you find better functionalities, feel free to let me know. If you have any question in the future, feel free to ask them. Maybe I will be able to answer them. I wouldn't consider myself an expert on Roll20, but over the years I've learned a few things. And I hope this basic overview helped you to also understand a good amount on how to handle Roll20 and optimize your online gaming experience. And with that, I would thank you all for watching. And this is Luke Shadow, your good old Panda Commander, signing off. Have fun playing on those virtual tabletop tables.